Hey, what's up guys? Just Doug here, back with another video on the DTF Motorsports YouTube channel. Today we're doing more Lincoln content. You can kind of see I got the window taped up over there. The window regulator broke on this. They have like a crisscross cable that goes over some pulleys and crisscrosses in the middle. I'm assuming what happened is it probably popped off one of those pulleys, and then I hit the automatic down and it just kept trying to wind, and it wound up all the cable inside of like the gearbox where the motor is. So trashed the window regulator. I guess it's a pretty common problem on these and like the Lincoln Nautilus and stuff. I didn't see any videos on there, so I didn't really think about it till after I already started on this to make a video. So I'm gonna try to walk you through it the best I can. Just do a quick video on how to replace the window regulator. Luckily it's not that expensive of a part. I got it direct from my local Ford dealership for like $105 or something. So luckily not an expensive part. But yeah, I'll just jump into it. Basically you gotta remove your door panel, and then there's a big plastic inner panel, and that's the whole window regulator. So you gotta pull off some clips, you gotta pull out the speaker, undo some wire connections, and then you gotta put the window up. That's where I struggled with. My window was stuck down. So I'll just go through and show you all little tips and tricks to get that out, and it's not a bad replacement, so I'll show you real quick. All right, so here's the part number for the driver's front window regulator. This is for a 2021 Lincoln Aviator. I'm not sure what years it works for or anything, so I would make sure to just call up your dealership, give them your VIN, and they'll be able to tell you exactly what you need. All right, so like I said, I already have this apart, but I just kind of roughly put it back together so I can make this video for you guys, because like I said, I already had this taken apart before I even thought about doing the video. So first thing you want to do is pop this switch panel out. You're going to want to take a plastic pry tool and start at the front, and then work your way around this edge, and it should pop out, and then you got to slide it forward. There's a little tail piece there that tucks underneath the door panel there, and then there's two electrical connectors on the back of that. Unplug those, and then you set that off to the side. And then you want to remove the door panel. So there's going to be one 10mm bolt right there, and then there's going to be two 7mm bolts. One right there, and there's going to be one right there. Take those out, and then you'll want to get a plastic trim tool, pry tool, and get underneath here and just pop the door panel out, and you work your way around. There's just plastic clips that hold it all the way around and all the way around the front side. And then you'll be able to lift the door panel off, and then I'll show you a couple of connections you got to undo once you get the door panel off. All right, so this is roughly what it'll look like with the door panel off, but when you go to remove the door panel, you have to remove all your electrical connectors. There's some down here. You have to go through and unplug all those, and on the driver's door, you have this cable for your emergency release system. So this pops in. You'll basically just squeeze these two pieces together, pop this out, and then spin it so you can pop this little cable end out. Can't really show that too good on here, but usually there's a speaker here. I already removed that. So I had to remove that because my window was stuck down. So I removed the speaker so I get my hand in here to lift the window up. And you want to lift your window about halfway up, and then you'll pop these little white pieces of tape off. And there's going to be a clip that you can push in that holds the actual glass to the window regulator. So there's one there and one here. So like I said, just pull your window about halfway up. You push those pins in, and you'll be able to pop the glass up. So you undo both of those, and then pull your window all the way up. Make sure you tape it up really good so it doesn't fall down on you. And then we can start removing the rest of this. So there's a whole bunch of these little wire clips that'll be clipped onto the door panel. So what I do is I just take a pair of pliers, grab on this, and pull them off. There's a whole bunch from all over this wiring harness. So undo all those. And then you got these little plastic, like quarter turn fasteners. So they'll normally be pushed in, and you just turn them a quarter turn to the left, and that'll unlock them. So go through and do that to all those. And then the other thing you'll have to do is there's going to be these yellow dot stickers up here. So you want to peel back this one. There'll be a 10mm nut back there, and this one right here, there'll be a 10mm nut back there. So you undo those two, and then you should be able to pop this whole thing off. And there is still plastic clips holding this in, so it won't just like fall off after you undo these. You'll still have to pry it out. There'll be like a pin there. There's a couple more around here, so it doesn't just fall off after you undo this. So you still will have to like kind of grab onto that and pull it off. But yeah, after that, then this whole black piece should pop out. So I'll show you that real quick. All right, so what you want to do when you go to remove this, you want to peek the bottom out, and then you should be able to slide this down, and that'll clear your upper window regulator rails up here. Just be mindful of your wiring harness. And pull it out. All right, so now we have our new panel here. You can see what I was talking about as far as the cables go. They crisscross and go over these pulleys. I think what happened with mine is one of these pulleys popped off at the top, and then, like I said, it was on auto down, so it just kept winding this cable up, and it just got it all tangled up in here and destroyed it. This is the old one over here. There's a couple things you'll have to transfer over to the new ones. The new window regulator does not come with the motor, so we got to switch that over. There's just 3 T25 Torx bolts holding those in. You have to switch this sensor over. I'm not really sure what it is, but 2 7mm bolts there. Same thing with this module here, 2 7mm bolts. So we'll go ahead and swap this stuff over to the new panel, and then we'll be able to reinstall it. These are just plastic, so you want to make sure to not get too crazy with them. I'm barely pulling the trigger on this thing, so I don't want to strip these out. So. Perfect. All right, we need to reinstall the window motor. Same thing, those are just plastic, so you don't want to get too crazy with them. I'm going to check them with just a little ratchet just to make sure they're snug. They should have a pretty solid stop when they bottom out, because they do like self-thread, so it's kind of a little harder to get them to pull through the plastic, but all right. So now this is ready to go back into the car, and then I'll try to give you guys a little better view of underneath these white pieces of tape where those window clips are. I'll try to get a good shot of those when I put the glass back on. So let's move back over to the car. And then one more thing I do want to mention before I take this over to the car. Your new regulator should come with these nuts already on here. These nuts. Anyways, they don't have to come off because they do go up into a slot. So just make sure you got enough room that you can, slide these up into the slot, and then you don't have to drop them down on the door as you're trying to install this. So I just backed them out to there like flush with the threads here, and they should be able to slide up into place. All right, so we're back over to the car. Tuck this behind your wiring harness. Try not to break any clips or anything. So these two pieces here and here are going to go inside the door panel and up into these slots where these two yellow stickers are pulled back. And before you start pushing any of these clips or tightening anything down, make sure you got this emergency cable out of the way. Make sure none of your wire harness is tucked behind the door panel. And then you should be able to line everything up. And start tightening this into place. Start popping these clips. Make sure everything's lined up. Go through, turn all these a quarter turn to the right, tighten up these two 10mm nuts, and then we'll be able to drop the glass down, plug everything in, reinstall our speakers. So let me grab the socket and tighten these up real quick. So you don't gotta get crazy with these, obviously, because they're just little plastic quarter turn clips. So you can either use a Torx bit in the center, which is a T40, or I think it's a 12mm hex if you want to just use a socket, but yeah, so that's all there is to it. Quarter turn. They pop out when they're locked, so. Yeah, just make sure you turn them all the way because they turn and they kind of like click into place at the end. So. If you're struggling, just push the door panel in, just make sure everything's in place where it needs to be. That's really snug. We can work back to that one. So you can see there, I was struggling with this one, then I worked my way around, and then that one popped right in. So these, plastic kind of takes its shape as you suck these into the door. So this one's giving me struggles. So that one gave me a little struggle. I just had to push in on it, loosen it up, push in, and then retighten it back up, and good to go. So I got all those tightened down. I can tighten up these two 10mm nuts here, and then reinstall the wiring harness. Let me go grab that 10mm socket before I forget about it. Same thing, I'm just going to tighten these up by hand. You don't want to get too crazy with this stuff. Good and snug. Torque to spec. Alright, and then you can put your yellow cover stickers back on here. Like it was never touched. All right, so let's install these clips back in. These will just pop back onto the door panel. They got little serrated teeth that grab onto these plastic bosses. Go back around the wiring harness, make sure you got them all. Everything's where it belongs. Alright, and at this point you can plug your window motor back in, and then the rest of this stuff will all go to the, oh, sorry, there's more clips right here for this wiring harness. There's 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so we got those back in. Okay, there's one right here by the motor. Almost missed that one too. We can replug this in. and replug in this sensor here. I'm not really sure what that's for, but got a little safety tab on there. And then I believe all the rest of these should just go to the door panel. So now that we have all that reinstalled, if you took your speaker out, actually I'm not going to install the speaker yet until we get the glass down. I'll show you those clips real quick. All right, so I'm just going to temporarily plug this back in so I can get my window regulator into position in these slots so I can make sure the glass gets clipped all the way in. Just want to put that back in, this one back in. All right, so I turned my accessory power on and I've rolled my window up so you could see these little clips inside this the slots that remove the white tape from. So it's hard to see, but that clip back there, when you go to undo the window, you just push in on it and it'll detach from the window. So I'll bring the glass down and show you what it looks like with the glass in the slots. All right, so I brought the glass down and you can see when you pull this tape back inside that hole, that clip there, that's what the glass clipped in. So that won't be there until you have the glass clipped all the way in. It'll just be a hole basically. So when you bring it in, make sure that those clips go all the way in, and you shouldn't be able to grab onto your glass and pull it up and down. Same thing with this slot here. You can see the clips in its place in that hole. And then we're ready to put the rest of the door back together. All right, so we got our glass clipped in. I reinstalled this white tape over those slots. If you took your speaker out, which I imagine you probably will have to, you can reinstall that at this time. Just 4 bolts, which I did not carry over here, of course not. Yep, so just 4 7mm bolts. Same thing, I'm gonna install these by hand just because they screw into plastic. And I don't want to screw these up. Start it a little bit. Like I said, you don't want to get too crazy. Just throwing in the plastic, you don't want to snap none of this off. Good and smooth. Snug all that around. And don't forget to plug in your speaker while you're here too. And now we're ready to bring the door panel back over. I'm going to bring you guys in for a close-up of that emergency release cable. All right, let's see if I'm talented enough to do this one-handed. So basically this cable is going to go, twist cable into that slot there. You're going to rotate it, you're going to pull on it, and then it's going to pop back into place just like that. So when you uninstall it, it's the opposite direction. You pinch those two tabs in, pull it out, rotate it, and then it'll pop out of that slot there. So and then now that we got that in, we can go on ahead and plug all of our remaining plugs back into the door panel, and then we can pop the door panel back into place. All right, sorry guys, my phone died while I did the rest of the install. So all I did was lift the panel up into place. You want to start at the top here first, push it down, and then you work your way around, get it lined up with your clips, go through and push everything into place. Before you do push the door panel into place, make sure you have your 2 wires ran through to this hole here so you can plug in your window switch. Yeah, like I said, then you can go through and push in all your clips all the way around, reinstall your 2 7mm bolts there on the bottom, and your 1 10mm bolt here behind the window switch, and then plug in your window switch, pop that into place. And then you can turn your car on, make sure everything functions as it should, roll your window up and down. You probably have to roll, whichever window you do your window regulator on, you have to do it a few times. Your auto up and down probably won't work right away. You have to do it a few times for it to learn its limits. And then your auto up and down should start functioning as it normally does. So yeah, just like I said, after you get everything installed here, turn your car on, make sure you don't have no warning lights in there, make sure everything functions properly. I'd check all my windows just to make sure nothing with that switch I messed up. And then I'm gonna wipe this door panel down to keep my wife's car clean, and then that'll wrap up the install. All right, guys, so that wraps up the video for doing a window regulator on a Lincoln Aviator. It's not that hard of a job if you're, relatively mechanically inclined to have tools. It's not that hard to do. And I think the dealership charges like $500 for that job. And it takes, in and out, maybe an hour. So it's not a hard job. Like I said, parts not expensive either. Luckily, like only $105. So for Lincoln parts, if you know, they're usually expensive. So that's not bad. I'm not complaining at all. But yeah, so like I said, thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, just drop them down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for tuning in, guys.